Good afternoon, welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for another edition of the EFL London show. I'm your host, George Dagless. Joining me this afternoon is Billy Mulley. Billy, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, good to be on the London show again.
Yep, looking forward to this one. Plenty to discuss given all the teams in the capital were playing over the last couple of nights. We'll be looking back at that and then looking ahead to the weekend as well. Fans of London clubs, do get in touch. We're across Facebook and YouTube. Unfortunately, our Twitter's not working at the moment, but do send your comments on those two platforms and we'll try and read them out as the show goes on. Let's go on to QPR first of all. A 1-0 victory for QPR against Huddersfield at the Kyan Prince Foundation Stadium last night. They left it late, but they did get their victory, moving up to fourth in the Championship table. And a goal from Luke Amos was what sealed it. Let's talk Chris Willock's influence, though, Billy. He's becoming arguably one of their best players now, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think with Chris Willock, he slightly went under the radar in terms of the threat he poses because obviously Chair's been getting sort of the majority applaud it so far, but Willock is a player that's just been immense every time I've seen him play. His ability to beat a man and to beat a man at ease, he's just one of the best in the Championship at doing that. And I think we've seen that again on yesterday evening. He's a player that I saw him against Luton the other day, and he just ran the show whenever he had the ball. You knew something was going to come from him, and it sounds like it was a similar performance against Huddersfield. And obviously, it was his bit of magic that worked to open him for Amos. Unlikely source in terms of Amos scoring there.
Yeah, a rare goal for Luke Amos, but good to see him back on the score sheet. Obviously, after the trouble that he's had with injuries in the last few months or year even, I think it's fair to say that'll be a big relief for him as well, won't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's good to see him back on the pitch first and foremost, but contributing in that, sort of winning his team 2 points and puts them into a strong position into the playoff positions. So yeah, I think he's going to have a big part to play as the season progresses as well. It's not going to be his goals and assists that sort of will be the biggest contribution from him. It will be his performances in the middle of the park, keeping things ticking over, breaking up play, and forming a good partnership with Johansson, Field, or whoever he does find himself next to. So, be interesting to see how he progresses. Can he get a run of games in the side starting? It'll be. He's obviously got the quality, but I think we've spoken a lot about the quality that QPR do have in those midfield positions, and when you've got Chair and Willock playing, it's quite hard to fit two central midfielders in, especially when you're thinking of adding, say, Dykes and Austin to that side as well. It's quite difficult to get all those players in.
Certainly a tough job for Mark Warburton, but probably one that he likes. QPR going along nicely. Certainly playoff contenders at the moment. Now just 1 point behind West Brom, which I'm sure they would have taken at the start of the season, sitting fourth in the Sky Bet Championship. Let's move to Millwall's draw against Bournemouth next. A goal from Benik Afobe cancelled out Dominic Solanke's opener just before half-time for the Cherries. Millwall have drawn their last 3 games in a row now, Billy. We speak at length about how Millwall are draw specialists, and we have done in the past as well, not just this season. It was fair to say at one point earlier on in this campaign, they seemed to have sort of shook off that tag, and they were starting to win a few more games, but as I mentioned, drawn 3 on the bounce now. But I guess in some respects, they'll take a draw against a Bournemouth team that's obviously been going along very nicely so far this season.
Yeah, well, as you were saying there, we've called them the draw specialists, and then it seemed that another London club in Leyton Orient took that tag, and now both of them are competing for that sort of tag. I think it's 8 1-all draws within that as well, so that's becoming a very, very common scoreline for them, and something that, as well as it is holding a team like Bournemouth, who have been very dominant in the opening stage of this season, it's another 2 points that have been dropped, which is happened 8 times now. So something that's preventing them from progressing and being in the playoffs. I think some of the games that they've deserved a lot more than they've got. A couple of games as well, they've probably been a little bit lucky. So in all fairness, it probably does balance out. But I think in this case against Bournemouth, they should have gone on and won it. The chances they created after Afobe scored, they had 3 or 4 really, really good opportunities to go on and win that game, and they probably will feel like it was 2 points dropped against a side like Bournemouth, who have been really, really good in these opening exchanges. And I think we spoke in the last London show about Benicophobe. Has he sort of justified himself to be in the thinking of a permanent contract? And last night was a good display. It wasn't just the goal; it was everything about his display. And obviously, when the ball came to him, he did put it away with a lot of confidence. So I think that's something that's probably bolstered his chances of a permanent contract with Millwall, and be interesting to see if it progresses that way.
Yeah, Millwall certainly impressive last night. Elton Lyon agrees with that as well. Getting in touch on YouTube, the best I've seen Millwall play all season, deserved 3 points. Danny McNamara was outstanding. And I guess, Billy, yes, it is a draw, but Millwall can obviously take plenty of positives from the display, can't they?
Yeah, especially when you consider sort of the calibre of Bournemouth. We've spoken a lot about Bournemouth and Fulham being on their own level, and not many teams being able to match that. But Millwall definitely showed that yesterday, and it's about making the Den a fortress again, and they've got every right to believe that they can go on and achieve playoff positions this season. There's been patches of this season where fans haven't been too happy with sort of more to do with the stylistic features of the way they've been playing. But yesterday was a very, very good performance, and judging from sort of extended highlights, they definitely had the best opportunities to win the game, and some of the football they were playing as well was really good, and sort of gave a Bournemouth side who dominate the ball a good run around.
Yeah, certainly, as I mentioned, plenty of positives for Millwall to take from that result. They'll be looking to kick on. We'll get on to their weekend game shortly in the EFL London show. Let's carry on looking back at what went on in midweek, though, and we'll talk Fulham draw with Derby next. The big news going into this game, and I was there at Craven Cottage Football League World last night, was that Alexander Mitrovic was missing from the matchday squad, as was Marek Rodak, as was Tom Cairney. All three of them come down with illness. It's not coronavirus, it's a separate illness, which hopefully they'll recover from soon. They'll be back in the matchday squad sooner rather than later. But as soon as that news, particularly around Mitrovic, broke, Billy, there was obviously a feeling for Fulham fans that, not where the goals are going to come from, because they've got plenty of attacking talent, but even so, Mitrovic's been so good this season, it was always going to be a little bit of a tougher task, and it would have given Derby a bit of extra confidence as well. And it seemed to be the case on the night too. Derby were, not negative, but they prioritised their defensive responsibilities first of all. Had a few good chances on the counter. Tom Lawrence had 2 efforts saved well by Paulo Gazzaniga in goal. And as for Fulham going forwards, it was Rodrigo Muniz who was obviously, asked to deputise for Mitrovic. He hit the post once, overhead kick, spectacularly just went over, and he had a header cleared off the line. So he was unlucky. And at 20 years old, I suppose there's still plenty for him to learn. But I guess that does show it in many respects. Not that Fulham are a one-man team. I don't think that's fair to say, Billy, but it does show just how important he is to this Fulham team.
Well, yeah, you've basically what's happened is Fulham have taken out a man that scored 21 goals already for them this season, and 27 of their goals have come from someone that's not him, and he's also chipped in with assists. So I think the majority of goals that Fulham have scored this season have come through him. And I think I've spoken a lot about the service that Mitrovic gets definitely helps, but I think yesterday definitely proved that Mitrovic is very, very important in this side. And it's not to say that yesterday's inability to score falls directly that Mitrovic wasn't playing, but I think it was a game where he would have snuffed out, and he probably would have popped up with a match-winning moment in those kind of games. But I think a lot of credit does have to go to Derby. Obviously, on the back of beating Bournemouth 3-2 and then go and get a 0-0 draw at Craven Cottage. And I don't think many teams will this season stop Fulham from scoring at Craven Cottage. So that's a big credit to them. And with everything that's going on, the uncertain times they find themselves in, they are doing every bit to get out of it. And it's really, really good to see at the moment. But going back to Fulham, I don't think that this will be too concerning for them. The amount of chances they still created, it was On another day, they could have still scored 2 or 3, get Mitrovic back in that side. And yeah, I think there'll be goals will be flying. It does sort of bring up a few concerns about if Mitrovic was to leave in January. Obviously, there's that interest from Juventus and Villarreal, I think it was. So if he was to depart, is Muniz at a level that he's ready to come into the side and for an extended period of time and do the job that Mitrovic has been doing, or would they have to jump into the transfer market themselves? It'll be interesting to see how that all develops. But yeah, I don't think there's anything too concerning at the moment.
Yeah, they'll certainly hope they can keep Mitrovic at least until the end of the season, at which point you would have expected him to fire them to promotion, even if they have just drawn the derby. They're not going to win every game. I think it's fair to say in the Championship, Fulham, and they'll be looking to bounce back at the weekend. Let's drop into League One. Let's talk Charlton's draw at Morecambe next. Charlton raced into a 2-goal lead up at Morecambe on Tuesday night. Jialang Jaisemi getting a goal inside the first couple of minutes. Connor Washington doubling their lead just before the half-hour mark. Cole Stockton got a goal back for Morecambe just a couple of minutes later from the penalty spot. And then Anthony O'Connor ensured that the spoils were shared just under 20 minutes from time, scoring in the second half. I guess, Billy, you've got to say it's kind of disappointing for Charlton, really, especially on the back of winning the weekend against Plymouth. Losing a 2-goal lead, whoever you're up against, wherever you are, is going to be a bit of a kick in the teeth. The only good thing, really, for Charlton is it is not as worrying, I guess, from the aspect of where they were. If they'd done this a few weeks ago against the Morecambe team that obviously struggling as well, there'd be more panic buttons getting pressed. But on the flip side, I suppose they're thinking we can still sort of get near the playoff places and we need to hold on to 2-goal leads.
Yeah, as you say, it's probably 2 points dropped given the 2-goal lead and sort of the manner of the game as well. I think Morecambe are a team that do frustrate teams. They're similar to Cambridge, where they've picked up some very good results this season. So it's always going to be difficult to go to Morecambe on the midweek and get a good result. But being 2-0 up, you expect to, especially a team like Charlton at the moment, with the confidence that they've got, the form that they've shown, and obviously the buzz that Johnny Jackson has instilled into his team, you would have expected Charlton to go on and win that. But conceding straight after their second goal, I think that kills the buzz there, and from then on it's worrying times, and I think that's exactly how the match played out. Still for Charlton, though, 14 points in 6 under Johnny Jackson. I think they've got every right to be happy about sort of this transitional period. Obviously, Sandgaard's not doing anything too quickly in terms of appointing a new manager. But yeah, Jackson's still doing a very good job. 9 points from the playoff positions, and if they can show the form that they have been in, then there's no reason why they cannot go and achieve the playoffs this season.
Yeah, Johnny Jackson's saying as well that he's positive the way talks are going over the permanent manager's job. So who knows? Before too long, he could well be confirmed as a Charlton boss. I'm pretty confident most Addicts fans would be well behind that as well, given the work he's done so far alongside Jason Ewell in SE7. Right, let's move away from Charlton. Let's move to Wimbledon next up in looking back at the League One results. They beat Crewe 3-2. Crewe actually took the lead at Plough Lane via Chris Long, but Jack Gradoni and then a couple of goals from Ollie Palmer before half-time ensured the Dons were 3-1 to the good by the break. Chris Porter did score for Crewe just before full-time to give the home side a little bit of a fright, but they did hold on to break their losing streak, get back to winning ways. And an important result as well, Billy, I think it's fair to say. You look at the league table, Wimbledon, after a very bright start, of sort of falling down the stands a little bit. Obviously, we should say, they have had their fair share of injury problems in recent times, but they still need to get the results on the board, and they've done so against the Crewe team that's obviously struggling as well at the moment in League One.
Yeah, did have a very bright start, but as you said, it's sort of fallen away, and in the position that they are now in, they need to be beating teams like Crewe, teams that are around them in the table, teams that are sort of a little bit above them as well. They'll need to ensure that they're getting maximum points, and I think it's a very good result considering they did go 1-0 down, and the manner of getting back into the game and being 3-1 up. quite quickly after that. So in that respect, they'll be pleased and hopeful that they can build on that. I think they've got two quite favourable games coming up. Fleetwood at home and then Accrington away. A good chance to build on that. But if they hadn't have won that, I think those two games would have looked quite daunting. I think coming up against another couple of teams that are in a similar position to Crewe in the way that they're fighting at that bottom end of the table. But yeah, all in all, Wimbledon will be boosted by that, and they can go into those games with sort of a renewed sense of confidence. Injuries have not helped at all. The injuries have come to players with that bit more experience as well. So it's taken out not just players that have been integral, but that experience factor, which is massive in League One. Rudoni on the score sheet again, which is brilliant. His progression is excellent to watch. A player that's from Wimbledon Academy, so it's been really good to watch his progression, and I'm sure Wimbledon fans are equally as excited about how he can go in his career. But yeah, all in all, a good win to stop a winless run.
Yeah, a really important win for Wimbledon. We'll look ahead to another important game for them this weekend in League One very shortly. But first of all, let's move into League Two. Just look back at the two results for Leyton Orient and Sutton United, and we'll start with the O's. A 1-1 draw was recorded for Orient away at Scunthorpe United. Aaron Dridden put them in front, but Jake Scrimshaw ensured that the points were shared. I guess, Billy, with all due respect to Scunthorpe, you look at the league table and you kind of think that Leyton Orient really, they need to be winning these sort of games. And I'm sure plenty of their supporters would have been expecting that going into this one.
Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on it at Orient at the moment. 10 out of 18 games have been draws. And I was mentioning earlier how them and Millwall have just, the amount of draws they pick up is just crazy, really. But yeah, this latest one, they'll be massively frustrated, especially with Scunthorpe at the bottom of the table. Going 1-0 up as well and allowing Scunthorpe back into the game. But then they still had 25 minutes, half an hour after that to go on and win the game. And they'll be disappointed that they weren't able to carve them open, considering that I think they've got plus 16 goal difference at the moment as well. And they've won just 6 games, which just shows when they win convincingly. But when they find it difficult to break a team down, then it usually ends up in a draw. So they'll be confident that they don't seem to lose games. They don't seem to be outplayed at all. It's just this factor of turning a point into 3, which is really damaging them at the moment, really restricting them in terms of how high they can be. Dropped out the playoffs again because of this result, and it will be concerning that they're not picking up the 3 points. I think that's the main factor. Obviously, dropping 2 points a lot of times this season is denying them a place in the automatic spots, but ultimately they're not getting outplayed. They're one of the best sides in this division, and it's just maybe adding something in January that helps turn these points into 3 points. A little creative spark to boost them might be what they're viewing. But yeah, 6 wins out of their 18 is not good enough for the squad they do have and the potential that they do have too.
Yeah, they'll certainly be looking to turn more draws into wins, like you say, in the weeks and months ahead. Kenny Jackett will be working hard with his staff and players, trying to work out that particular conundrum. Let's finally talk Sutton United's result against Mansfield. Sutton beat Mansfield 2-0. A good result for United again in League Two, going well very nicely. Another home win as well. Lewis John getting them on the way early doors, and then Omar Bugle scoring in the second half to round off the victory. A 2-0 win against the Stags team, Billy, that was building up a nice little head of steam in League Two as they look to pull away from the relegation zone. This is a good result for Sutton, isn't it?
Brilliant result. 2-0. A clean sheet against a side that have won their last 3 games. We've spoken a lot about them being revitalised and maybe a surge up the tables on the cards. We were speaking about them as if they were playoff contenders as well. So to get back to win that game is obviously brilliant for Sutton. Reclaim a spot in the top 7 as well. So they'll be equally as happy with that. And I think a scrappy goal to open the game, open up the scoring. Sorry, and from there, both sides had chances. But Bugle's strike was brilliant. I don't know if you've seen it, but surely a contender for goal of the game week. To seal a game, I think that's a really important time to score. So in that respect, yeah, it's a brilliant win and another 3 points to take them even closer to the automatic spots, because I think in total honesty they can keep surprising teams and keep climbing that table.
Yeah, like you say, it's a fantastic goal. And I think Sutton, kind of in contrast to Leyton Orient, Sutton have only drawn 2 games this season. So it shows that, it's funny, they've won 3 and lost 3 of their last 6 as well. So a bit more volatile, but currently they're sitting just above Orient in the league table. So, what would you prefer? More draws and less wins, or more wins and a few more losses? Obviously, you'd prefer more wins and nothing else. But at the moment, it seems to be paying off a little bit more for Sutton than Orient, but both, of course, still, will be pretty pleased with where they are in the League Two table at the moment. All right, that rounds up the roundup of the midweek action. Let's just look ahead to the weekend football involving the capital clubs. We'll talk lunchtime game in the Championship first of all. Fulham on the way to Deepdale. They're playing Preston North End. Billy, how do you see this one going?
I think Fulham win. I have to back Fulham. I think they have been brilliant, and I don't think they'll be too disheartened with not picking up all 3 points. I think even when Fulham don't win, they create so many chances, and I think that against Preston, I think it would be more the same. I think Preston have won 3 of their last 5, but it's still not a happy camp at the moment. It's not a good feeling around Preston. So yeah, I can imagine Fulham taking advantage of that and going on to win that quite convincingly.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you there. I'm going to go for a Fulham victory too. Elsewhere in the Championship, Millwall on their travels as well. They're off to Humberside to place Hull. Hull coming into the game in good form off the back of a good victory at Cardiff. 3 wins on the spin now for the Tigers. Tigers against Lions on Humberside. Billy, who's going to win this one?
It's difficult, as you say. Probably the worst time to play Hull at the moment. Embarked on a really good run in recent weeks. Nathan Baxter's come in and goal and put some really good performances in, really good saves at crucial times as well. But Millwall will have the confidence after being the better side against a top club like Bournemouth. So I'm going to go for another 1-1 draw. I think they like that scoreline, and it's a kind of game that could follow suit.
Yeah, and I can see you thinking. I've just got an inkling though that Hull might just edge this one and keep their good run of form going. It seems to have just clicked in recent weeks. Be a disappointment for Millwall, obviously, but just edging towards Hull. Finally, in the Championship, we're looking ahead to Monday night. Seems quite a few. Well, it is a few days away. That's why it seems quite a few days away. QPR travelling to Derby County. Derby, as we've mentioned earlier on, Billy, a good draw at Fulham last night. 1 against Bournemouth on Sunday. They'll be looking to take on another promotion chasing team and get another good result against them. So QPR have got to be wary, haven't they?
Definitely, yeah. It's very similar to the whole Millwall game, where Hull have been brilliant, and it's probably the toughest time for QPR to face the Derby side on the back of a 3-2 win at against Bournemouth, and a 0-0 draw at Craven Cottage. So QPR, another side, do have confidence. 11 points from the last 5 games, but I can see Derby getting something out of this again. That they've, even with everything that's going on, the continued uncertainty around the club, I can see Derby still getting something out of this game. I'm going to go 1-0 Derby.
Okay, no, I can again see you thinking. I do think Derby are going to be right up for this particular game on Monday night. I'm just going to go for a draw though. I just think QPR, their away form still needs to be better and get to the level of the home form. But I think after a really good win on Tuesday night against Huddersfield, and maybe just with that extra day's rest as well, it might just wasn't even on Tuesday night, was it Wednesday night? So I haven't had an extra day's rest, but I still fancy QPR. Having said that, just to get a draw at least at Derby, or potentially even go on to win. I can't see Derby winning that particular one. Let's move into League One. Wimbledon hosting Fleetwood. We spoke about Wimbledon getting a good, important victory over Crewe earlier this week. They need to do the same now against the Fleetwood team that obviously has seen Simon Grayson leave in recent days, and it's down near the wrong end of the foot of the table. Do you think Wimbledon will win this one, Billy?
Yeah, I think if they hadn't have won during the week, I think they wouldn't have had the confidence to go on and win this game. But Fleetwood are 1 point in the last 6 games, and I think their only away victory was against the league leaders Rotherham. So their away form hasn't been good, but when they have won, they've managed to win a really good game in that. So yeah, I can imagine Wimbledon kicking on and recording a second successive victory. I think I'll go for a 2-1 win.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do see Wimbledon getting victory here as well, which will kick them further up the league table and get them away from another side that's below them in the third tier. And finally, in League One, Charlton travel to Shrewsbury. In some respects, Billy, this is a similar game to what Charlton had earlier this week in their trip to Morecambe. They're going to have to try and ensure that if they do go in front, they stay in front.
Yeah, I think they'll be a little bit concerned with what happened and relating that to this game. But I think Charlton do have too much firepower at the moment. I think the confidence that's been instilled into the squad means that I expect them to go on and win this game. Shrewsbury haven't been too bad at home this season, but they are still right near the bottom of the table. I think it'll be a close game, maybe a 2-1 win Charlton, where they managed to keep hold of a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, I do see Charlton just edging this one as well and getting the 3 points. Let's quickly, before we go, move into League Two. Sutton United take on Barrow. It's kind of hard to not see a Sutton win in many ways, Billy. We know how good they are at home in particular and how well they've been doing this season. And Barrow are very much out of form, losing 3 of their last 4 games and their last 2.
Yeah, it surprised me. I didn't realise how much they've slipped. Barrow looked good at the start of the season. Looked a real energetic, hungry side that were getting good results, but they're without a win in 8 now. So I think Sutton will take full advantage of this and probably win this by a couple of goals. I'll go for a 3-1 win.
Yeah, I can see Sutton winning this one as well. I'm going to go 3-0 to them. And finally, Leyton Orient have a tough trip away to Northampton Town, 2 sides that are well in the playoff picture, well in the promotion picture at the moment in League Two. What case can you make, Billy, for Orient getting a positive result here?
I think the game screams a draw again. Obviously, Northampton have been on in good form recently, and to be fair, Leyton Orient are a very difficult side to beat. So yeah, I think a draw is a result that looks quite likely here. Northampton 16 points from the last 7, so sort of turned it on a little bit in recent weeks. Leyton Orient, as well, as I said, only lost twice this season. And yeah, if it plays out as a tight game, I think a 1-1 draw is probably a likely outcome.
Okay, yeah, well, no, I do sort of agree with you there. I can see Orient getting a draw against Northampton and adding to their draws tally. But you know, some draws are better than others. In some respects, that point potentially away at Northampton could be an important one come the end of the year. So that one would definitely be considered a better one than perhaps the draw earlier this week at Scunthorpe. That brings the EFL London show to a close for this week, and that brings our broadcast on Football League World TV to a close for today as well. Tomorrow morning, the FLW TV betting show is back at 10 a.m. Ned Holmes will be hosting that one. He's joined by Ben Wignall and Billy Mulley. Then at 12, Ned's in the hot seat again. He's hosting the Under the Microscope West Brom v Nottingham Forest preview show. That game, of course, coming up on Friday night, 8 o'clock kickoff. He's joined by Matt from the WBA Report and Forest fan Des Oldham. And then finally at 4 p.m, looking ahead to the entire EFL weekend, Alfie Burns will be hosting the EFL weekend preview show. He's joined by Marcus Alley. That's at 4 p.m. From us here, though, thanks for joining us. Billy, thanks for joining this afternoon. Enjoy your evening, whatever you're getting up to. And we'll speak to you very soon.